Listen up. You waste 261 days a year when you wait for the weekend to have fun. I'm your host, Jenna Palick, and on my podcast, Fun on Weekdays, you can expect me to have honest, vulnerable, and sometimes not so fun conversations about what it means to balance the relationships in our lives. When you stop waiting for the weekend to have fun, you maximize every day of your life. Fun means something different to each of us. That's why I'll have guests from different work industries to share the highs and lows of their careers while making time for fun and what it means to them. We all work different jobs and have different schedules, but I think we can all agree on the importance of finding little moments in every single day to have fun and find fulfillment in our lives outside of our careers. Tune in to Fun on Weekdays podcast every Tuesday to hear from myself and others who believe that weekdays can be just as fun, if not more, than the weekends, if you make them. Now, who's ready to have some fun?
Okay, here we go again.
Round 2. Emily and I just recorded an entire hour and 10-minute long episode only to try and transfer it to my computer to realize that there was no memory card in the freaking soundboard. So we're going to just start again and recap our entire conversation. So ready?
Yeah.
Take 2. Welcome back to
Action.
Fun on Weekdays podcast. I am Jenna, your host, and I'm here with my BFF, Emily.
Hey.
Emily is my friend from high school. She's in town for the weekend, just visiting. I really needed a girls' weekend.
Yeah.
Like so badly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we came. It was so much fun.
I know. It was such a good time. And I feel like I love my friends in Austin, but there's just something about your like hometown friends that especially when you haven't seen them in a long time, it's just like so much more sweet.
Yes. And it's almost like a refreshing change of dynamic or something. You know what I mean? Like you haven't been with those people in so long and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Those people are so much fun.
We were both like, oh my God, Tessa's so funny. We forgot how funny she is. Abby too.
Yeah.
All of us though, we're all like, wow, we're so funny.
Yeah.
We actually all were like, I think we're the funniest versions of ourselves when we're all together.
Yeah, for sure.
The first
I think
night,
it's because we feel the most comfortable with each other because we've just known each other for so long that it's so easy to just be yourself.
yeah,
you know?
I do too. And also when you have like new friends in college or after college, they just like don't really know all of the inside jokes or like the people that you're still close with. So when you're talking about things, like you just completely have to bring entirely new memories together.
Yes, and that takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times when you're hanging out with a new friend, you're just kind of like talking about your past, but they have no idea. Like they were not there.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
It's like talking about a dream.
Yeah.
You know, like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you weren't there.
Yeah.
I love to talk about my dreams though.
Yeah. So do I. And you know, Abby hates it. Abby thinks it's so ridiculous. She's like, it's not even real. I don't know why you're telling me that.
I love to talk about my dreams, but when someone else is telling me the story of their dream, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I know. If I try to tell you, you're like, that's it.
just sit and just blankly.
And I'm like, okay, she doesn't care. I just give up.
No, girl, I care.
No, I know.
I
Not
care.
that much, though.
I
Not
care.
enough to, like, listen.
No, I listen. It's a difference. There's a difference between listening and actively listening.
Yeah.
But it's like, what kind of conversation can I contribute to a dream that's just completely fictional?
Right, right. And that's what goes through her head. I'm like, whatever. There's nothing really to say back to that. But anyways,
this is Emily's second time on the podcast.
Second time.
She was on it in October of last year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. It's been almost an entire year, and I feel like we both have really blossomed into young women.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've gone through a lot of major life changes, which I think is natural for this age in our life. But
definitely.
For
Emily
sure.
moved to New York. So the first time that we recorded the episode together, Emily was just moving to New York City. And
yeah, I'd been there for like 2 weeks actually, and then I came for ACL. So
I was shocked that you actually came because I was like, oh, there's no way she's going to come because she just moved to a new city. I don't know how you made that work.
Yeah, I just was like, okay, I want to go there. Because I came to Austin for New Year's that year, and I had so much fun. So much fun. So I thought, yeah, sure, I'll come back. Well, and also my favorite singer was at ACL, and I had never seen her before, so I really, really wanted to go to that.
Gracie.
And then we almost missed it because my friend Jenna over here had to record a podcast that she procrastinated on.
Oh, my God. I remembered that.
Yeah,
and
so I went by myself.
And you went to, no, you went to Gracie Abrams, and
Yeah.
then we all ran to Tate McRae.
Yes.
And we got there, and it was the very last song.
No, and you guys got there before me because they like her and her friends stopped at like what was it?
I don't
like
know.
a
It was
little
like
shop or something, and I ran, but I went in a different entrance than them, and they got in 2 songs before me, and I got in, and it was 20 minutes before her set was supposed to end. Done.
Anyways, the last time she was here was ACL,
Yeah.
and we haven't have we seen each other since then?
You came to New York.
Oh, I did. I came to New York in the spring, in like January time.
Yeah.
And I actually did that last minute Fun on Weekdays meetup.
And the brunch. That was
Oh
so
my
much
God.
fun.
That was so fun. I
Yeah.
think back to that. Honestly, I think it was at that moment when I was in New York and we did the last minute brunch. It was like bottomless mimosas. I think there were like maybe 70 girls that showed up, but it was during the snowstorm. And I was like, wow, this was so fun. And I think that's when I got back on my event kick. Was after that.
Yeah. No, that was so fun.
It was a good time.
Yeah, it was. Me and Mara were so hungover, me and my roommate. We got there, we were so hungover, like still drunk from the night before. And we just got drunk on mimosas till 3 p.m.
I remember
And then
that.
we went out the rest of the day.
You did. And I was going to change my flight because I had so much FOMO. I was like, oh, everybody had just made friends from brunch. And then you guys were going out with a group of the girls that came to brunch. And Mara's like, just change your flight. But
Yeah.
I had to leave.
I mean, you know.
Also, I just don't really think that New York is that fun in the winter because it's so freaking brutally cold.
Yeah, well, me and Tessa were just talking about that because Chicago is pretty similar. And you just have to make the most of it. Like, you have no
I know.
choice. You have to just, like, shiver in the line.
I know.
But you do get to wear cute coats.
Okay, that is one thing that I miss about Texas is that there's just like no layering here. The only
Yeah.
layering you're doing is layers of sweat.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that's half the reason I couldn't move to a warm state because I love fall and winter clothes way too much.
Oh, I know, it's so good.
Yeah.
Love it.
But anyways, so yeah, I moved to New York in September of last year, and then I didn't have a job for a while, so I was just living on my savings. That obviously did not last a very long time. Sorry, Jenna's fixing my mic.
It was a little muffled, you know.
It's
Just
not muffled to me.
yeah, no, it's good now. Just
Okay.
trying to give like the best listening
Yeah,
experience so they can
right.
really envision.
Yeah, right, totally, 100%. And I got a job at a restaurant, like right by my house, and then I finally got my real job. Took about 8 months before I got a corporate job that I wanted.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize it was that long of a period of time. To me, it felt like, because I was watching you from like an
Yeah.
outside perspective, I feel like time just goes by really, really fast. But it felt like you were only there for like a month or two.
No, I was only in New York for a month or two, but I was getting my master's my last
Oh.
year, and then I was in school for the summer, so I was applying from like May to September.
Yeah.
November. And it took a long time, and I thought I was going to get almost every job. I was like, oh, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. Every time, not the one. Not the one. And then finally it just fell into my lap because I think it's a lot of trial and error and learning to interview, and I think that taught me a lot about interviewing and how I can best present myself as an asset. No, it was really like hard though because I mean, looking back to the interviews I was doing at the beginning, I can understand why they didn't want to hire me. Like,
I do think though, like for me, I thought interviews were kind of fun because it's almost like a
Of course you did.
survey.
Yeah, of course you did.
What? No, I love it.
Yeah, no.
But
I was like quaking in my boots, like I could barely see. Every time I'm like,
actually,
yeah, my name's Emily.
when Emily was in Austin in October, you actually had a Zoom interview.
Yes, I had a Zoom interview at a shoe company, and safe to say it did not go well.
That's okay though, because it all worked out. And I feel like
Yeah.
everybody always stresses about thinking that it's like the perfect job or it's like the perfect thing and they're going to get it. And then it doesn't happen. And then you can just totally fixate on that and then not be excited about other opportunities because just like looking in the past about what you did
can
wrong.
sit in the rejection of all the interviews you didn't get or all the jobs that they didn't follow up back with you.
Yeah.
When, I mean, the universe is going to give you what you need. So
There were a lot of jobs that I applied to after college and I never got any type of response back at all. So
yeah. I mean, I would send like 3 follow-up emails and nothing. I'm like, okay.
DM them on
It's
Instagram.
just like don't really like my personality at all or something.
That is the thing, though. Like, you just really can't see anybody's personality in a resume. Like, that's my issue.
That's how I felt the whole time. I was like, I'm like, if you just knew me.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think this day and age, though, it's so different because you have an opportunity to, like, to be creative, I guess. Like, I think it's a lot more accepted and encouraged now. I mean, depending on your field.
Yeah.
Obviously, some are, like, a lot more traditional than others. But, like, we both, well, you work in fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like fashion values, like, creativity and individualism and, you know, all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think you have an opportunity to do something kind of different.
Yeah, I mean, like how your resume was. My resume does not look like a normal, like, Times New Roman one. But I definitely think that some people do that, and I think it could get you a job. I don't know. I definitely think it allows you to be in a more creative space, though. So I had a portfolio, and that's how I got my job, because I presented my portfolio. I was, like, sick of trying to fit myself into the role and being like, I can do that. I'm proactive. I'm resourceful. I'm all of these things, and I fit what you say. And instead, I just presented myself as who I actually am, which does align with the role that I was looking for. And then I got it. They liked me. So
That's so
yeah,
good. So tell
yeah.
everybody what your first corporate job is.
Woohoo! So I work at Ralph Lauren.
Ooh.
I'm in merchandising. And I mean, I really couldn't have asked for a better first job.
Yeah.
I'm like so happy with it. And that's what I mean. Like it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. And
the rejections led you to that.
yeah, exactly. And it taught me so many things about interviewing. I wouldn't have even known to have given my portfolio and, like, share my screen. Like, that's so scary, but I did it anyways because I needed to try something different. Like, I spent 8 months trying to get a job in the same way, and it wasn't working. So it allowed me to learn that. And I think moving forward, that taught me a big lesson.
Wait, where did you learn to share your portfolio? Did you read that somewhere? Did someone tell you that? Or did you just have an instinct? You're like, okay, let me try this.
Yeah, she was telling me about the role, and she wasn't asking me any questions about myself. And I was thinking, like, I could keep, like, interrupting and, like, making this conversation, like, like not flow properly. Or I could just wait till she's done and then be like, I actually have, because I would send my portfolio in my follow-up email every time. I'd be like, hey, if you want to check this out, if you want to learn more about me. But, like, after you're off the phone, they don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, unless you, like, made a big impact, which, like, you know. So I finally was just like, I'm just going to show them because it has everything they need to know about me. Yeah. And I can tell them exactly who I am, and they can understand that this is, like, I didn't just, like, write this while you were talking, you know, like, this is actually who I am. And she was so impressed. She was like, oh my gosh, I love it. And it was actually a temp role. It was, like, originally a temporary role. And then they liked me. So then they.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, first, the first thing to dissect is I feel like you took the opportunity by its horns and you just really grasped.
Yeah, I railed it.
Had a really nice grip on the opportunity. But I think instead of, like, just hoping that they would see it, you were just like, no, let me show you and make sure that they saw it. And then that was, like, the one thing. And then it worked. Yeah. I mean, it's not always going to work every time, but, like, you'll never know unless you ever try. It was meant to work
out that time. Yeah. And it was because every single person I work with is, like, I have something in common with, first of all, every single person I work with. And it's just, like, such a positive environment to work in. I can't imagine, I literally can't imagine a better first job.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Good for you, girl.
Thanks.
So it started as a temp role. How was that?
No, it was just, like, I applied to a temp role.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, like, when I got the job offer, they made it perm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You got a curl? You got a permanent curl on your head?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
So my first day of work, I had really curly hair.
I've literally always wanted a perm.
You know, my mom used to get them all the time.
No way.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
I've always wanted one, but I just never liked the smell of it. So I was like, nah.
The smell?
You've never smelled a perm? Oh, it's a very distinct smell.
Yeah.
It's like, you know how a nail salon smells like a nail salon? It's a perm, smells like a perm.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Perms also just remind me of Legally Blonde, so.
Okay, anyways.
So you got your first job. Now you're living in New York City. But prior to that, you were serving in the meantime.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you describe going from serving now to, like, a corporate job that's a little bit more structured, a little bit more routine?
It was definitely a big adjustment because I served all through college and I really liked it. I told Jenna earlier this week that I would serve, like, as my job not if I could, because I know I could, but
But it's just not what you want for, like, your future goals.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't build me towards a different future, a future that I want, but it's something I enjoy every single day. And if it wasn't something that I had to do for my income that was, like, life or death, you know, or rent or no rent, then
Yeah.
I would probably do it. But I think that the dynamic aspect of both jobs was something that really fuels me and helps me keep engaged in the job, because if I didn't have that, I think it would be really hard to sit at a desk every day and do the same thing over and over again. So I'm really grateful that I still have that. But what I don't have is I work remote, so I work a lot of times just at home from my desk. So there's not a lot of like activity happening or talking to people outside of my like immediate team. And I think that's what I like the most about serving, was meeting new people and talking to people and learning new things about, honestly, like the world and just in general, like things that I never would have known before if I wouldn't have talked to this like random stranger.
Yeah, I feel like also serving, it forces you to like really be on your toes, because like something random could happen in the moment and like you have to react to it immediately, versus working from home. You have time to like draft a response.
Yeah.
And you're not face to face with people. So like you have to be so articulate with your words, because they're being interpreted by words and by reading versus like your overall body language.
And it really helps you learn how to interact with people and to handle conflict a lot, because serving in a restaurant, I think that's probably like one of the biggest places you handle conflict. And that was one of like the most important things to me, because I really learned how to mitigate conflict, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times I was able to calm people down, and I think that's taught me a lot about like how to communicate properly to not like make someone else feel defensive or attacked or blah blah blah. But yeah, so I think that was a good experience for me, and I'm really really happy I did it. I think everyone should work in some type of service industry.
I definitely agree. Like, my pet peeve, if I were to go on a date, this is just an absolute deal breaker. It's just not going to ever happen. And I can never look past it, is if somebody is rude to a server. Like, especially being on the flip side of it, I just have so much more compassion for like people that work in service jobs, because they just get so much shit from people. And the shit that they get has probably nothing to even do with like what that specific person is doing. It's just like they might have had a bad day and you're getting them like at their dinner, and then they're taking it out on you. Yeah.
100%. I also think that you are thinking about work the whole entire time while you're serving. Like, if you just broke up with your boyfriend 10 minutes before you went into work, you do not have a choice. Like, you can't think about that anymore. It's almost like a nice break from like worrying about yourself. Like, you have to really just zone in and be like, this person needs water. It's really bad. And I have to go get them a Sprite.
Oh, fuck. I forgot the unlimited crab legs. I have to go get a refill.
Yeah, I have to go get a reorder. Don't forget to put in the system.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Emily and I worked at the same restaurant in college. We both worked at Pickle Bill's in Fairport.
Yeah.
Fairport, Ohio.
And it's on the water, so it's like a lake house vibe.
Yeah. I worked there. We both were, actually, we had a lot of the same jobs.
Did you work at Carlone's?
No. Oh, I wanted to work at Carlone's, but my sister did.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't like Erin, so she kind of tarnished.
Yeah, they didn't like me either.
Did they like anyone?
They liked Brenna.
Everyone loves Brenna,
yeah,
though.
Everyone loves Brenna.
It's like hard to not love her.
Literally.
Brenna's our other friend from high school.
Yeah. She didn't come this weekend, but we missed her.
It's okay. She's here in spirit.
Yes.
And the next trip, we decided all of the girls are going to go and visit her in Indianapolis. It's where she lives. If anybody's listening to this podcast and you live in Indianapolis,
tell us things to do there.
Yeah. And befriend our friend Brenna. She is so sweet and funny.
Yes.
We love her.
Find her.
Find her. But basically going from serving and having like a break, because, well, we talked about this in the first episode that we did, but you did an extra year of school because you got your MBA. And we talked a little bit about like comparing yourself to your other friends and where they were at, because while you were still in school, a lot of us had started our first jobs and like moved to different cities, and we were just like starting a future. And I remember in that episode you talked about just like comparison and stuff and putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get like the perfect first job. But now that you actually have like a job that you really like, how does that feel, I guess? Like, is it what you envisioned for your future? Like, is it what you thought that your job would be? Because a lot of times we want a certain job or we want to work for a certain company, but then you get it and then you're like, wait, this isn't necessarily what I thought.
Yeah.
But then you feel maybe a little bit of guilt because you're like, well, I'm supposed to like it because I wanted this for so long.
I think that in my last year of school, I felt very stuck, which I think is natural because my whole 4 years of college, that was not my plan, you know? So to stay in that space again for a whole nother year and to have like literally triple the schoolwork than I ever did before was so hard for me to adjust and to kind of I think I was ready to start a new chapter of life before I was actually able to.
Okay.
So I felt very stuck there. And I had all of these plans and all these things that I wanted, and that's the year that I spent a lot of time, you know, trying to grow and heal and journal.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about
I love
that.
this conversation.
And so that was mainly the reason why, though, is because I felt so stuck and I didn't know how to get out of it, and I was trying to figure out ways to get out of it. But I think that sometimes that happens in life, and you kind of have to sit in it, because I wouldn't have had any of the things that I have now and any of the things that I asked for, I guess, during that time, all the things that I thought would make me happy, I wouldn't have them if I didn't go through that time period. And I wouldn't have even had time to figure out what my goals were in that way. So I think that I didn't have a very specific idea of what my first job would be, aside from the fact that I wanted to be in a good work environment, like a positive culture, and have a dynamic job, which I basically just told you that that's exactly what I have. And I think it has, after it happened, after I got the job, it always made sense that I would work there and that I would have the job that I have, and just in general, like, just all of it, like, clicked almost. Like, I was like, oh, like, that's why everything else didn't work out. It's because this was supposed to. And then after I got the job and after everything else happened, I started dating my boyfriend, and I moved to New York City, which was my plan since high school. I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Like, literally, now what? So I started to think about like what I could do to find a little bit more passion in outside of work, because I thought that everything I needed was from like job, love, where I live, you know?
Yeah, and then you got all those things that you've been working so hard for, and then you're like, wait, I still have something missing.
Yeah, and it's not because all those things in my life don't make me happy, but that there's, you know what I mean? There's other things that you need to like fuel yourself. And and I wouldn't say there's a lack of passion, because I do like my job, but I also think that there is, when I get done with my job, like, then what do I do? You know?
Right. You have fun on weekdays.
Yeah, right.
It's almost like you felt stuck. It's almost like you were supposed to be stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not be stuck, but like feel stuck so that you could reflect.
Kick myself in the butt to go.
Yeah. You can like reflect on what you actually wanted, and then you work towards all these things and you finally got them. And then now we're at like our current place in life where it's just kind of like, I think a lot of people feel that way. Like, you go to college, you study something that you want a job in, and then you get the job, and then you get all of the things that you've always wanted, and then you're just like,
well, because that was always your goals.
Yeah.
Like, through high school, through college, like, your goals were to get your job and move to that city or do whatever, and then you did it, and you're like, well, now what are my new goals? Like, what's the next thing I'm working towards? What's the next thing that I need to like nourish in my life?
Totally. So what would you say are those next goals?
So right now I am trying to build healthier habits. So my main one is drinking more water, because I drink no water. But in terms of like long-term goals, I would say that I eventually want to work for myself in some way. I don't know exactly what that is, and I think that's okay. I don't want to say that I know, because I think it will come to me as I live through life.
Yeah.
And grow through it.
And
but
I think no one ever actually knows.
Yeah.
Because even when you think you know, then again, like we just said, then you get that. And then it's kind of always just like a never ending loop of just, okay, what's next now?
Yeah.
Like, you complete a goal, and then you naturally have another goal. And if you don't have another goal, then you're probably just going to like live in the same routine every day.
Yeah.
And that's probably really great for like a lot of people who love routine and habits and stuff like that. I agree with you though.
I think it is important though to sometimes like sit in a space where like I did achieve everything that I said I wanted to and that I wanted to. So I think it also has been a lesson for me to allow myself to just sit in it and be grateful that I got myself to where I got myself, and allow all of those accomplishments to build confidence in myself to when I do know what the next thing that I want to do is, then I'll know that I can do it.
I really like that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're just constantly wondering what's next and just like constantly,
you're never feeling grateful for anything or like actually enjoying the moment.
Yeah, true. I mean, I say this on the podcast all the time, but I've always said that I want to own a business. I have no idea what the fuck that business is. It ended up being Fun on Weekdays, but like, is that my long-term goal? No, not necessarily, but like, I don't really know what's next.
Yeah.
But in this moment, I'm just kind of appreciating it as it is and just accepting like other opportunities that come my way.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I do think that like the right move will come along, but
yeah, you don't have to know now.
Yeah.
All you have to know is that, do you like what's happening right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you don't like what's happening right now, there's like definitely
steps you can take right now
to help.
And then like, what are those? And those are the questions you ask yourself.
For sure. What are the questions you ask yourself?
It really depends. I feel like
if you ask me that question, I have no idea. Like actually no idea. So I just put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I feel like I ask myself questions all the time though. I think that is my biggest, I don't know how to describe it, but I think that's the best way to learn and grow and change and be a different person and experience new things and have new things come to you and new opportunities and stuff. So like when I'm in a fight with a friend, I try to ask myself, like, if I think 100% it's their fault, I'm like, it can't be. Because I know that they have a different perspective of what's happening right now. And I have to think about what they're thinking. Or I have to think about what could I change or what can I control about my behavior right now that can shift this interaction or can shift this situation from not being so bad for me, if it's bad. Or if I am feeling stuck, like, why do I feel stuck? Or like, what are steps I can take to not feel that way anymore? Or like, why am I being so mean to myself? Or like, and every time you have an answer, like ask yourself why again, and constantly questioning yourself so you can find the root of, so you can stop doing it, Yeah. Like, like, why do I not drink water? Like,
Why is it? Do you know?
I guess I just don't prioritize it at all.
Same.
And I should though, because my skin is dull.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how like opaque is your pee? This is telling.
Okay, well, I've been drinking a lot of water these past 2 weeks. I've been doing a really good job.
Good for you, girl.
Yeah. So I'm building confidence in myself that way.
Good. I should really take a lesson out of your book because water is such a simple thing that I feel like could make like a huge difference in your overall energy and like overall health.
Yeah, well, that's what Ethan says all the time. Every day he texts me that I need to drink more water.
I need to set like a reminder in my phone.
Yeah.
I think just those little habits every day. And I actually did a podcast episode with Shelby Sacco, and I mentioned you to her earlier actually when we were in the car. And that episode still to this day is like one of my favorite ones. If I ever need like a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
She just talks so much about like the habit loop and forming a habit and then rewarding yourself for it. And then over time, like those habits are no longer a habit. It's just like a natural tendency that you just naturally do.
You just started a new habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to our friend Maddie the other day about that kind of thing. And I think when it comes to like relationships and connections and stuff like that.
All right, this goes out to all of my beauty lovers out there. I have been obsessed with makeup for as long as I can remember that my mom allowed me to wear makeup, from watching YouTube tutorials after school to learning new techniques on TikTok, finding new products. I've always viewed makeup as a way to just truly express yourself and kind of change up your look depending on your mood every day. When it comes to skincare, I've only recently started to really prioritize my skincare because I've been dealing with a lot of acne and hormonal breakouts over the past couple of years. But it is no secret that buying new products and keeping up with your routine can definitely get expensive. Luckily for you, from August 12th until August 21st, Macy's is giving you a whopping 50% off of daily beauty offers, plus so many other great deals online and in store. Macy's 10 Days of Glam is only 10 days, so do not wait until the last day. Make sure you check it out before it's too late. You can find it at Macy's.com/10 Days of Glam. I've also listed a lot of my favorite beauty products on my landing page, which is Macy's.com/FOW.
I I think when you even, okay, let's just give an example of like a relationship. Like you broke up with your boyfriend and you're like really sad and all you can think about is like, why me? Why me? And in those situations, like in the past when I felt that way, because I mean, I feel like everyone has felt that way in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have like a kind of a second learned thought. And I'm like, I could just not perceive it this way. Or I can, instead of saying like, why am I heartbroken right now? I can say like, what can I do to make myself feel better right now? Like, what is something, like, could I cook myself a nice meal? Could I like take a bubble bath? Could I go for a drive? You know, like whatever it is. Or like just in general, like always having that second learned thought, because eventually that second learned thought becomes the first thought because it replaces it almost. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a way that I've broken a lot of habits.
Like instead of you constantly asking yourself after your interviews of saying, why did I not get the job? Like, of course, I didn't get the job.
Yeah, that's good.
You now started thinking about it and like, okay, what can I do to better serve myself to have like a better chance of then getting it, and not just blaming myself? Like, what can I actually take action to do to make a difference?
Yeah. How can I change this for myself? Because it's literally up to me. Like your whole life is up to you. And if you want to change something about your life, if you don't want to be sad anymore, like you don't have to. And it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of healing and a lot of reflection to be like, why am I hurting so bad? Is it because of something that just happened, or is it because of something that someone said to me when I was like 8?
And you're just holding on to those things, or because or is it happening because I'm allowing myself to like keep using that as an excuse to keep going back to that, instead of, because I think it's a lot easier to make excuses than it is to make change. And I'm really guilty of this myself. Like, I mean, I make a lot of excuses in my life. Yeah. Definitely. I think a lot of people do.
And it's really hard to always hold yourself accountable, because it's easy to blind yourself from things that you don't want to see about yourself. Like I could say over and over and over and over again that I always admit when I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But if I keep telling myself that, then when I don't admit when I'm wrong, I won't ever see that about myself, because I've already decided that I don't do that, that I'll put a blindfold onto that experience that I didn't do that, and I won't allow myself to grow from it or change from it. So it takes a lot of releasing of your ego to be like, I actually was wrong. And once you do it, it's so easy. You're like, oh my gosh, I did not have to be like that about that. Like I was being so dramatic. Like I feel like even when you get in fights with friends, you could be like, they were wrong. Or I could just sit back and be like, I see that I hurt their feelings.
It's actually funny because this weekend, I feel like our group of girlfriends, we're all just very like confrontational with each other. It's either like if somebody's doing something that's annoying someone, we'll all just like kind of call them out. Mm-hmm. But then afterwards, it's funny you say that, because I think every single instance that we had of that, of getting annoyed with each other, and we might say something snarky, almost like immediately after, or maybe like an hour after, we're like, I'm sorry I said that. Yeah. And then we just like all acknowledge that. But I think that just shows that we've all really, really matured since high school. And I think it's just really sweet to see how everyone has like come so far on our own journeys, like separately, all living in different cities and having different boyfriends, and that we can still
experience each other. Yeah. Our new selves.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's what friendship's all about, girlfriend.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's natural to have disagreements, especially in like long-term friendships or relationships. Like, I mean, in anything, like you are bound to disagree on something. I think how you handle it is whether or not it determines if it's healthy or not. Because we could have a screaming match right now, and then like in 2 hours, if we can sit down and communicate with each other and tell each other that like, actually what you said really hurt my feelings, and that's why I was being like that, and then you say, well, what you said hurt my feelings, and then we can drop the ego and be like, no, you know what I mean? Like let go of your pride and be like, I'm sorry, or I think, you know, whatever.
I think that can translate with work really easily too. Oh, because it's super easy to get into a disagreement with like your coworker or your boss or someone that you work with. And then you kind of like hold that over. And I think especially with your job, it's not as common to like face those conflicts and like vocalize how you feel, because I think sometimes it's seen as like unprofessional maybe.
Yeah, to be like more emotional. Yeah. My biggest thing with work is when someone tells me to do something that like I already knew that I had to do, and they email me like, oh, do this. Like, I was going to do that.
Just bumping you.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to. And I think this has been a big learning experience because it's my first job and I don't want to approach those relationships that way. So every time something like that does happen, I'll like have like a little bit surge of like, oh, I want to say like, I already did that, or like, I know, or whatever. But instead I'm just like, okay, thanks for letting me know. It's like so hard to do it, but you know, just got to type it out. And then after I feel so much better because I'm not mad at myself for following a pattern I've always followed, you know?
Oh, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to put it.
Because like normally in my relationships, if someone told me like if someone is telling me, you know, I hate this when people put on the maps when I know where I'm going and then they try to tell me where to go. I get so mad and I don't know why. I'm like, I already know where I'm going. Don't tell me what to do. But like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. You can put on the maps. Like, because I usually make wrong turns. So
True.
But yeah, so I think that's something that can help for sure. Just trying to take a step back.
I think it's also easier too when this kind of goes back to what we were saying about like serving and working like a corporate job where maybe you're working from home and you have time to like draft an email.
Yeah.
You have time to draft a response versus like being in person or maybe working in an office and you're just immediately reacting. I think it could be so much harder to notice that in the moment. Like I personally have gotten really irritated with like certain situations or certain projects that I have or like someone I'm working with. And when you're on a call, it can be like really easy to just be passive aggressive. But I think the beauty of like talking to your coworkers through the internet or working from home is that you have the time to like reflect on yourself.
Even like in relationships, like, cause I'm long distance and I feel like when we get in an argument, a lot of times he's working or I'm working and we can't call each other on the phone and talk about it. But I can take a second and be like, I need to process my emotions right now and figure out how I'm feeling before I respond. And then when I do respond, I have like a little bit of awareness about it and I'm not like attacking him directly. And a lot of times we have miscommunications. Oh, like because being long distance, I think that's natural, but I'll say something and then like on the phone and then he'll get all like defensive and angry and then I'll be like, what? And then we'll hang up and I'll be like, oh, like, and then I have time to like kind of unpack it by myself. I think that's so important, not just in your job, but in relationships, whether it's romantic or friendships, to be able to allow yourself to process something before you
react on
and
anger.
integrate with someone else's like opinion or like, you know what I mean? Like how they are feeling and just understand how you're feeling and then go to them before you mix it up with them. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Emily is also just always the best at giving advice. Like if we're ever arguing with someone or like in a little bit of a tiff, Emily's always the person that you go to vent about it because she always has good advice. But I do feel like that is always one of the pieces of advice that you give is like, just don't respond right now and just like take a moment to yourself and cool off because the conversation that you're about to have too isn't even constructive. It's just acting in defense because you feel as though someone's like attacking your ego is not the right word, but you know what I mean? You just feel defensive.
Well, you take it personally.
Yeah.
When it's not usually personal, you know?
Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that a lot of people come to me for advice, probably because I give it.
Emily, yeah, okay, so when we first recorded this episode, we had a really great long conversation about friendship love languages, and I think this is like a good topic to talk about, especially when you're making new friends, is that every friendship that you have is probably looking for some different type of quality in a friendship. Like, I could probably list out what each of my friends, like what I am friends.
Kind of?
Yes, exactly. And I might not be like the exact same. I might not be giving this exact same type of friendship to every single friend. I think it's just so, what's the word? Not differentiated. It's just so dependent on who the relationship is with and what kind of person.
When you met them.
Yeah, exactly. And what
kind
they
of person
need.
they are, what you needed from them at the time you met them, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, but I think it's really positive to have different relationships with different people. And I don't think there should ever be pressure to have one specific relationship with one specific person. And instead allowing yourself to accept each relationship as it is and nurturing it to the best of your ability so you can get the most out of it.
What kind of friend would you say that I am to you?
That's so hard. I feel like you're definitely one of the friends I have fun with.
That's so fitting. Are you just saying that?
Fun on weekdays. No, I'm not. I'm being honest.
Okay.
I think I have other friendships that are more like emotionally supportive, and like not one is better than the other. I just go to different friends for different things, and people come to me for different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I need every single one of them just as much as I need the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think that we spend the most time together when we're like you know what I mean? Like when we're doing something, whereas like other friends, I just go to their house and like sit with them and like talk to them.
Yeah, doing something like maybe spontaneous that like neither of us really ever do that often, or like having a new experience, or doing something fun together that maybe someone else doesn't have the spontaneity to do, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But I do think that's like really good to have a balance in your friendships, because over time you're eventually going to accumulate like a pool of different friends that they all have different qualities. And I think all of the qualities that you have in those friends are qualities that you want to see in yourself. And maybe that's why you're drawn to them.
Oh, for sure.
And
I feel like there's a lot of qualities that you have that I like want to channel about myself, that I channel best with you. And then there's other qualities that other friends have that I can channel with them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the best way to find those people is you just have to know what you're looking for in a friendship and like kind of what you need, but you also just can't rely on that person to be able to just give it to you.
Give you every single thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And I also think that the right friends and what you need in a friendship will kind of naturally come to you throughout your life. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like Mara, she's my roommate, and Jenna's little. She came to me when we moved to New York together, and I have a different friendship with her than I have with any of my other friends. And I think that was like one of the friendships I needed the most. Not even necessarily just in like the best ways, but also in like the learning lessons I can learn from her. And same with you, like our experiences in college that we talked about last time. That's, you know, like we were so close to each other, and we like experienced those lessons together. And then like other friends that I have, I experienced different lessons with at different times in my life. I think that they teach you things, and they also help you have fun and support you.
I like that. That's so sweet of you. Emily is my friend that I go to when I want to like laugh. Yeah. Because I just know that she'll always like lighten any type of mood. Yeah. And I feel like lately too, you're always like, I know you always talk about how Lily is so optimistic, but I do feel like you are equally as optimistic. You just maybe don't notice. Nice. You're welcome. I feel like you just maybe don't notice that quality in yourself because you compare yourself to other people in your life that you view as optimistic. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, whenever I'm like irritated by something, Emily's always the person that's like, well, are you actually irritated, or is it just something about like within you that you're projecting maybe?
Or making you feel that way? Or is there something that's really bothering you, and like this is bothering you more than it normally would, or something?
Totally. Totally.
Well, those are just like the questions I try to ask myself, and I've been trying to ask more questions to my friends, like when they come to me in situations like that, instead of telling them, because that's what I do for myself, and that's what helps me grow and learn from my experiences. So I don't want to just like tell someone something, because I think a lot of times that can make people feel defensive and like almost like they're taken down a peg, when like that's never my intention. It's always that like I'm trying to like, no, like listen, this helped me. So instead I try to ask questions, help guide them
for them to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, because you're not going to grow from someone telling you something. Like you have to learn it yourself. And that's not to say that like, I mean, I have literally an insane amount to grow. I think everyone does.
Jinx, what do you owe me? Slice of cold pizza on the table.
With honey.
Oh my God, no. Emily got pizza with honey tonight.
Okay, it's good, and if you haven't had it, you should try it before you.
It just kind of tastes like dessert. I don't know.
Yum. You know my favorite flavor combination is savory and sweet together.
I did know that, and also that one cheese in the blueberry jam.
Yes, from your aunt's.
I love that too.
That was cream cheese, but I think you're talking about brie, right?
cream cheese and blueberry jam with like a Triscuit.
No, a cracker, like a club cracker.
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah, I don't like Triscuits.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Triscuits, if you're listening to this.
I thought you liked Triscuits.
I don't know, I do now. Nervous now.
Okay.
But I think also in comparison to your friends serve different purposes in your life, I also feel like activities and like the way that you have fun serve different purposes in your life too. And just as your friends evolve and change, the ways that you have fun, maybe with those friends or with yourself, also evolves and changes to what your needs are in that time. And I feel like this is something that we wanted to talk about, was like how you were in high school to college to now post grad, and just evolving and changing into your career, and how just like every aspect of your life evolves, which can be a lot at one point. But I think finding those moments on like after work or before work or on the weekends, literally any time, any day, is how you are able to determine like what types of things are serving your passions and getting you closer to whatever your goal may be for the future.
Yeah. Well, I think in the last episode we were talking about affirmations.
Yes.
And in high school, a lot of my affirmations were very surrounding my physical appearance. So I'd write them on the mirror in lipstick, and I would tell myself I'm pretty, blah, blah, blah.
I'm so gorgeous. I'm so slim, thick.
Yeah.
God, why did I
I
just
don't
say
know why
that?
you said that.
I know for a fact that you've never said that. I was literally trying to think of something and I can't think of anything actually.
I honestly don't remember what I wrote. I just know that like I wrote it in lipstick on my mirror. And the reason I remember that actually is because I didn't know I was writing affirmations at the time. I was just like, that was like intuitively what I felt like I needed.
I feel like affirmations kind of became like trendy. I hate to say it, but I feel like they did in the age of social media.
Though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think people just started talking about it more, and they're like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you do that too?
Well, I think it literally happened since COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah,
COVID.
because this TikTok stuck in my head. I saw it, and it was about the Hunger Games. And there's this phrase in the Hunger Games that says, like, if you're not being cared for or entertained, then you'll start to kind of like look inward. Obviously, you know, you'd have to look up the phrase, but something about that. And how basically that was really what was happening during that time. Like, no shows were coming out. Everyone was like, you really, all you had to do was like, people started to look inward and to self-reflect. And I think that was like almost this like surge of focus on like growth a little bit. I don't think it happened to everyone, but I think that was like a very big trend that happened, and I think it's rippled through so many things already. I mean, even the fact that we're like talking about this kind of stuff right now.
The way that we would never talk about this like
a year ago even, or 2 years ago.
I mean, our episode last year, if we go back and listen to it, I mean, we did like an ACL recap. Emily read my tarot cards.
Yeah.
And it was just, not that it was like surface level, but I don't feel like either of us were comfortable enough with ourselves to feel confident to like have a serious conversation kind of. And not that this is super serious, like,
yeah, right.
or anything, or anything. I really don't want to have a serious episode. Like, I just want to make people laugh sometimes. But I do think that, yeah, we've definitely done like a lot of, what's the word? Like inner soul searching, maybe.
Healing.
Yeah, inner healing.
Yeah.
Inner healing.
Yeah.
And now we're able to be like this.
Yeah,
You know, maybe a little more sentimental.
And I think you have a very different perspective of life as you start to grow, you know?
Yeah.
So like things that you just see through a very different set of eyes. And even like 3 months ago, I see through a different set of eyes than I do right now. And I think that's like so exciting. Like to me, like that is like so invigorating that I can continue to like shift and change and like move through life in a different way and see things that I never saw before, whether it's about myself or about the people around me. It just opens up like a whole new world, you know?
I think the key word that you said there was that you can, and not like you can, but you have to take action to be able to. Like if you don't want to see the world in any other eyes, you don't want to experience anything other than what you know.
Yeah, you won't.
Then you never will. And then I feel like that is oftentimes a reason why people feel stuck is because you're just like not allowing yourself to do anything different, to learn something about yourself. But isn't like that what life's all about?
Right.
Like, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, I'll go back to the affirmations.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so
got a little sidetracked.
I know, as we usually do. It's so hard not to, though.
I know. So, in college then, we were talking about this in the last episode. I was writing a lot about, I felt stuck, like Jenna just said. I felt really stuck there, and I was writing a lot about how to change, what did you say?
No, you said that you started writing about qualities that like you wanted to be.
Yes,
so instead of being like, I am pretty, I
it
like
wasn't
my
less
hair.
about what I looked like. It was more about like how I felt. So like I wanted to feel more loving or kind, or I wanted to feel less resentful, or a bunch of things. And I would write, and then like I would rewrite the same sentence if I felt like I didn't actually feel it, and it would just kind of like shift and change as I would jot it down to kind of get into the zone. But that was really hard for me for that period of time, because I would do it for like 2 weeks and I'd feel no difference. I'd feel like nothing changed, and it wasn't doing anything, and like what was the point, and blah blah blah. But I mean I still just kept trying to do it, because every day I tried to wake up and like shift my perspective and try to get myself out of feeling stuck, because I didn't want to feel that way anymore. But I couldn't leave where I was because I was still getting my degree. So I knew that I had to try to change how I thought, So I spent a lot of time doing that, and I felt like nothing was working. I felt like literally nothing was working, and blah, blah, blah. So I finally graduated, or I was in my last semester, and I went home because my lease was up, and it was just, I just started to shift, I feel like. I didn't really notice it, though. Like, I didn't understand or realize it. Just kind of things started to change, blah, blah, blah. And then my boyfriend from college, we broke up, and then we got back together. He called me, and it was I'm not going to say it was what I was asking for, because I feel like I let go of the relationship for a while, but he called me, and I was like, oh my gosh, what? And I feel like I was finally able to like almost accept it. Like I had like gone through like that year of my life to like heal almost, and like forgive a lot of people, not just him, but a lot of people for things. And he probably did the same during that time. And then we got back together, and it was just like literally not even the same relationship. Like I can't even believe I'm dating the same person that I was then. And then I look back at my affirmations now, and every single one of them, I'm like, oh my God, I feel that way now. Like that did change, and that I do like that did shift, and I do feel that way. But it took a lot of time, and I didn't realize that it was working, but it did.
Well, I mean, I don't think any change like comes overnight.
No.
And I mean, it can like you can have a thought that you want to follow, but change only happens with like consistent patterns of keeping up with whatever you say that you're going to do, whether that's like going and doing something fun after work every day, or going to work out, or drinking water every day, or trying to wake up early and make your bed. Like you can wake up one day and have that intrusive thought, but it's not the same as actually following through with it. And that's why over time, like I think the things that you kept saying that you wanted to be, like you just eventually started to believe it. And then when you did start to believe those things, that's when
you started
life kind
acting
of
that way. Yeah. Too.
Yeah. You started acting that way, and things started coming to you the way that they were supposed to, like with your boyfriend and with your job, and then moving to a new city and getting all of these things that like you have been saying in your affirmations that you wanted to be. Then you just eventually one day you just were.
Yeah. 100%.
So powerful. So what are your affirmations now? What are your goals now? So it went from your external goals of like being pretty and being whatever, and then your internal characteristics that you wanted to be, whether it's like, I want to be smart, I want to be ambitious.
Yeah. I think it went from me focusing on like my physical appearance, then to focusing on what I wanted to like embody. And then now I think I have, like I said, everything that I asked for, and it's more about how can I bring more joy and more passion into my life, more focus, more motivation in ways that I never really like nurtured before, if that makes sense. Like that was never one of the things I focused on at all, like at all. And you've always been that way, and I've always admired that about you, but I never felt like I had all of those other like check boxes that I needed to focus on that almost. You know what I mean?
Well, I almost feel like, I mean, for other people, it's like there's not a specific order. I feel like
No.
for some people, for myself, it's like if I feel stable in my job or I feel stable in my future or something, then I can maybe feel more confident in myself. And then I can embody the characteristics internally that I want to have about myself. But for other people, maybe it's like you want to become a certain person before you feel like maybe you're capable of achieving like those work-oriented
That's so funny
goals.
because I feel like I'm that and you're the other.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, I know, but you said some people, so I was like.
But
yeah.
I do think that like being surrounded by people that have different
Yep, I understand.
not schedules,
Yeah,
but the way that they evolve helps you. And
just
then
different ways that they approach life, I guess.
I know what you're trying to say. I think we made a good job of trying to explain what we're thinking, but I
Yeah.
think anyone listening to this would kind of understand the message we're trying to send. But essentially, your goals now are kind of more focused on like your career and your future and like success, and just more so not even all of those things, but like just building a life for yourself that you want, of like passion and fun and joy. And so I guess my question is like, what are the actions that you're taking now to kind of achieve those things?
I think I've thought a lot about what I used to do when I was a little kid, and that sounds so silly, but I think that
I just got
you
goosebumps actually.
really.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I think that you inherently do things that like bring you joy as a child because you're not all like mixed up by the world almost, you know? Like you're not so
Everything's so simple.
yeah, it's so simple. You just do what you want, you know? You just like do what makes you happy. So I try to think back to those things and do things that I used to do. Like me and my mom and my sister used to always make jewelry. So I bought beads, and me and my sister.
That's cute.
Yeah. My sister was making like crystal like pendants, and they're so cute. But I don't know how to do that. So no, so I bought like jewelry for like earrings and stuff like that. But anyways, just like stuff like that. And even though it sounds like silly, like I don't really need to waste my money or waste my time doing something like that. I don't think it has to feel like a waste, because it can feel like almost, it can be therapeutic, or it can be almost just like fun, and it's something I'm creating for myself and investing time in myself to just like sit down and do a craft. I used to read all the time, so I've been trying to read more. I also have been trying to start sewing, which is not something that I used to do as a child, but that is something that correlates with my degree. And I think I could, you know, it's just something that like is an investment of my time that I know would show myself that I kind of care about myself. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that I think it's really important to almost treat yourself as if you're someone else. You know what I mean? Like I try to like love myself and be kind to myself in ways that I would want someone else to show to me. So like cooking myself like a nice meal, and like, or cleaning my room, because if it was like my boyfriend or my friend coming over, like I would want it to be clean for them. So I want it to be clean for me. Like, or I want the meal to like look nice on the plate for my friend, because like she'll love it. So then I want to do it for myself, you know, and stuff like that. So I just try to channel that joy almost in like every action, even if they're mundane tasks like cooking, you know?
Well, that's the thing too. I think if you are doing it for yourself and your own enjoyment, even those mundane things become like fun. They become like the things that you look forward to doing for yourself. Yeah. Because you're like making time for, like you said, an investment in like your attitude towards yourself and towards just like life in general.
Yeah. And I know we obviously talk a lot about fun on weekdays.
Oh yeah, that is the theme over here.
Like
fun on weekdays. I know, for real. I actually have a fun on weekdays sign on every single wall. Even on the brick wall, I have fun on weekdays cornhole boards propped up. Like,
no, she has this picture, and she's like, on the other wall, I think I might paint fun on weekdays on there. I'm like, every single wall in this little apartment has fun on weekdays on it. She's like, yeah, I want that.
It's branded. I don't want to ever forget the name, you know, like
just in case something happens.
Yeah.
Never mind. Knock on wood.
Don't say that. Knock on brick.
Fun on weekdays, or fun in general, doesn't have to be like I'm going out and spending all this money, or I'm going out and doing this like specific what's the word?
Activity.
Event or activity. It can just be like that you listened to music while you cooked and you like sang to yourself, or you.
We love to do that.
Yeah, we do love to do that.
We're totally going to record a song after
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I love these microphones, so for sure. But just like allowing like things that maybe seem small, like even like taking a walk in the morning, like it doesn't have to be like just a walk. It can be like you can like look around and like, you know what I mean? Like just like you can find like joy and like romanticize every moment of your life. It doesn't have to be like surrounded by the event that's actually happening. Like how we were talking about earlier, you can just change your perspective, and your perspective of those mundane tasks don't have to be mundane.
Totally.
They can be fun.
And you can shift your perspective that like those moments don't have to come on the weekends either.
Yeah.
Because you can make that happen every single day, but literally only if you want to. Right. Only if you like want to think that way. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to think that way, that's totally fine. But I just feel like life will pass you by, and then you'll just kind of regret that time that you like didn't spend towards yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I think we spend a lot of time like worrying that we're not doing the right thing, or we're not doing enough, or we're not having enough fun. Mm-hmm. But if you just like change your perspective, like your life is fun. Like I look back at times that I was like, oh, I didn't have enough fun.
Yeah.
But now I look like in the moment I didn't think they were that fun, or I didn't like nurture them enough. And then I look back and I'm like, those were really fun experiences. And I did have like a lot of fun there, or I did have, my life has been like full so far.
I think it's a lot easier too to reflect on other times and like look to the past and be like, oh, I wish I would have appreciated that in the moment. But oftentimes, I mean, how often are we in a moment and we're like, oh, I really wish I was appreciating this moment more. No, like you never have that reflection until it's already passed, and then you look back.
Yeah, and I think that is so important to just like be able to sit in the moments that you're in and show like so much gratitude and happiness that you're in a positive place, or even in a negative place, because those negative places are teaching you lessons to lead you towards positive places.
Oh, that was a really good closing statement.
Yeah, that was good.
I loved that.
Thank you.
You guys, I'm so glad we actually ended up re-recording this episode, because
I think we did better this time.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Second time's a charm. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you haven't listened to my first episode with Emily, I have to warn you.
You don't really have to if you don't want to.
She didn't listen to it. She was too nervous.
Yeah.
It's okay. It is
Maybe
weird.
I'll listen back to it now, since that's so far away. It's not even me anymore, you know?
Yeah, you can look back and reflect on the growth.
Yeah.
And reflect on how much fun we had during it.
Yeah, and show gratitude for that time.
Totally. Okay, well, go and listen to that episode. It's from last October. But until then, take it away. You want to say the last closing statement?
What do you want me to say?
Oh, my last thing I usually say is,
see you next Tuesday.
Well, usually talk to you next Tuesday, because see you next Tuesday totally means something different.
Okay, I won't see you next Tuesday. And I actually won't see you next Tuesday or talk to you next Tuesday, but you'll talk to Jenna.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.